You're listening to Stimulus Tech Talk, a conversation-based podcast created by Stimulus Technologies that covers a range of topics related to business and technology.
Hello, welcome to Stimulus Tech Talk. I am Sherry Lip, the marketing manager at Stimulus Technologies, and I'm here with Nathan Whitaker as usual. And today we're going to be talking about what is probably kind of sounds like a fun topic, but it might not be that fun. But we're going to be talking about deepfakes and cybersecurity. Welcome, Nathan.
And thanks, Sherry. Welcome, everybody. And since this isn't the funnest topic, I thought we would start out with some jokes. Are you ready for some bad dad jokes, Sherry?
Sure.
All right. So, why did the AI get in trouble at the talent show?
Why?
Because it tried to fake its way through the competition. One more, because they're bad. Why don't deepfakes ever tell the truth?
I don't know why.
Because they can't ever face reality. I don't know. Like I said, bad dad jokes.
Yes.
It's a hobby around our house to come up with really bad dad jokes. It's like a dinner time conversation. So
Oh, okay.
these were bad, but it is a tough topic. So good to get a little bit of funny started out today.
So I know when we talk about deep fakes, the immediate picture might be a celebrity. You might get Keanu Reeves teaching you about plumbing. I've seen that, or Tom Hanks advertising in dental services. But that isn't really what we're talking about here, although it all ties together. So what are we talking about in terms of cybersecurity?
Yeah, so let's define what deepfakes are first. And it's deepfakes are an AI generated replication of a person's image, voice, representation. And it's designed to make it feel as real and authentic as possible. And, we're talking from a cybersecurity standpoint because, we do a lot of conversations and authentication based off of thinking that somebody's voice or somebody's image. And so you trust that voice in a phone call or on a Zoom meeting or, in some type of virtual environment. And it creates this issue that if somebody is nefarious and can imitate the likeness of another person, whether it's a politician, celebrity, or the CEO or CFO of a company, they can do bad things with that representation. And we see it. Right now we're going through politics here in the U.S. presidential election, and it's a big concern about people posting online on social media these images that look really real, authentic, and they are not real representations of what people said. But I think in our businesses we have to worry about it too, that if we're relying on a representation of somebody we think we know that's asking us to do something, how do we really know that representation, that image, that voice, that video is authentic anymore? And so that's what we're talking about today.
And I imagine this kind of thing, impersonation of a different person's probably been going on forever, but technology has made it all the more easy. So how, the software I've seen asks for verification that it's the real person, but I imagine there are nefarious ways around that. So how do these get created?
Yeah, there's software. If you want to try it out yourself, there's a company called HeyGen. That's one of them. There's plenty of them out there, but HeyGen, gives you like 3 minutes of video for free to try it out. But yeah, this has been around for a long time, and hackers have been using, representations of other people for an extremely long time to do phishing or to hack systems. There was a famous hacker back in the 70s that figured out how to whistle the codes to use payphones for free, and he was like one of the first phone freaks that were out there. And so this is not new. It's just that AI and technology is allowing it to be very easy for anybody to do this. So, these software companies like HeyGen, obviously, or others, um, ensure that it's valid. But certainly the technology, and a lot of this technology is open source, which means that anybody could have access to it. So these hackers can take, this open source information or this code and use it to, generate the likeness of you, Sherry, or me, or somebody else, and make it look just like us. And there was a case, that as I was researching out this discussion today. There was a case in the UK, for example, thinking small business here. A hacker was able to use deepfake audio of the CEO to scam this UK business out of 200 or so $1,000 just by mimicking the CFO's or CEO's voice on a phone call. And so that's what we're concerned about is, how inside your organization, whether you're a small business or an enterprise, how do you know that the person you're talking to, whether it's on a Zoom meeting or Teams or over the phone, is actually who they say they are? And I know that everybody's on this podcast is going, how do we protect against that? And that's a tough question. This is not an easy question to answer. And that's why we probably don't hear about it that much. Obviously we hear about it about celebrities and politicians, but inside a small business, this becomes, I think, scarier for sure.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question: is like, what is there some kind of like the two-factor authentication? Like, I know that you don't usually call me on the phone to ask me to do something, so that would be my first red flag. But if somebody does frequently get calls from their CEO, is there some way to, do you suggest that there's like some kind of verification process on the phone number or on texting
Yeah.
them to verify?
So that's the other question is like, can you spoof phone numbers? And it is really easy to spoof phone numbers. So, and there's been new regulations and laws put in place that carriers, telephone carriers are enforcing to ensure that phone numbers don't get spoofed, which means, some hacker could use my cell phone number and call Sherry and ask her to buy some Amazon gift cards, and it's not that hard to do that, either text messaging or phone calls. So how do you protect against it? One, I think, first slow down and always, ask yourself and, train your employees to ask themselves, is this a normal course of business action that, somebody inside my organization is asking me to do? Same thing, like getting that text message or that email, hey, I'm on vacation, I need help, buying these gift cards for a vendor. Have, asked, Sherry would ask herself, like, has Nathan ever asked me to buy gift cards to, take to send him to go to a vendor? And no, I've never been asked to do that. So, that's the first thing you'd ask yourself: is this a normal action? And then, a lot of these hackers realize, that is going to be a question that the person receiving this message is going to ask. And so that, I think that leads into your next question is, how do you verify if it is a normal course of business action? Let's say, you're the CFO or controller of the company, and I normally say, hey, we need to, pay these vendors and wire this money to these locations. And a hacker sees that communication going on, is inside our system already. How do they become part of that regular course of transaction? And so that leads to, ensuring that all the systems are protected, that there can't be account takeover, and that there's another form of verification that you would have, a reliable way to communicate back and forth. And it goes to, like, I think about when I've set up, for example, wire verification with banks. is that there's like a secret passcode that only I know and then the bank has coded. And so maybe that's a way to do it, is, have some type of, verification code or passcode or one-time passcode that has to be shared between us. So, Jerry, you and I have our, maybe our hand signals or something that we share that only you and I know, or there's a keyword that I'll use that we'd only know to do something like that. And, that's maybe something that you use inside your organization. Or you have some type of second form of authentication that isn't video or voice that could be used. But I think it's really important, as thinking about this protection, is ensuring that your internal systems, your Teams accounts and Microsoft 365 accounts, if you're using Google, the Google accounts have, account takeover protection, so that a hacker can't get into my account or into Sherry's account or controller's account and pretend to be them through that account. And that's, I think, the first thing that you have to really implement, is ensuring that your accounts are well protected to prevent against this type of attack. And then for really sensitive things like money transactions, finance, is having secondary methods of verification of who they are.
And what do you think is the role? How big of a role do you think deepfake is going to take in social engineering? Social engineering, kind of one of the biggest things already that trick people into doing the wrong thing.
So I actually have a appointment set up next week because I'm really interested in this, this concept that is like deep fake, or at least video automation from a marketing standpoint. So this is not nefarious. This is a realistic, marketing use, that, if I wanted to contact 100 of our prospects to invite them to a webinar, and I wanted to make it personal, so I could record the essence of me and say, okay, this is what I want it to say in these videos, and individualize it to each person's email with our CRM, and then it will send out 100 videos of me to 100 different people, and say, hey Shane, Nathan Whitaker from Stimulus Technologies here. I just wanted to personally invite you to this webinar on deepfakes and AI. And by the way, I'm a deepfake, but you might think I'm real. And we're going to talk about how to prevent it through cybersecurity. Maybe that's a video I send, and it looks just like me. And so that's a positive, maybe a potentially positive use, a little creepy, potentially. I don't know. But it is something that we could do. And so that same technology, again, could be used by hackers very easily. And it's now, the software is out there to automate this, to make it really simple and easy. So, LinkedIn messages, as a potential through social media, Facebook, things like that, that you could potentially get these videos that look like somebody else. So I think from a social engineering standpoint and communication, this is going to accelerate and be more of an issue when you're talking about very specific spear phishing. So the hackers are going to go after these C-level executives, owners of businesses, financial representative businesses, with this very personalized and sophisticated type of attack that they could generate from an automated standpoint. And so that's where we're heading, I think, in the next, now or future, that we're going to see more of these attacks that are going to be more realistic even than just getting an email, that it's going to be, some type of video communication that's going to be even crazier. So especially when dealing with social media, and online YouTubes, things like that. So I think it's going to be an issue. And then, the question is, how do you trust anything you see on the news? Or because news companies have been caught by this too in the past, of republishing or publishing these deepfake stories. And really, the only way to detect this is with AI because the video is a little too perfect. We all have twitches and you know and things, and they can incorporate that, but it's almost unnatural the way that it's incorporated. Now that technology might improve over time, and detection of deepfake is starting to get harder. But it's something that we have to implement better technology to be able to detect this. But I think what going to swing back here, Sherry, for just a second is from a small business standpoint. I think the biggest thing that we'd have to concern about is having ensuring our accounts of our core systems, our Microsoft 365 accounts, Zoom, these platforms that could be used for deepfake and audio, and our phones are really secure, and having the right cybersecurity in place to protect those systems from those the account takeover.
Do you think we're kind of getting to a point where we have to be skeptical about everything? I know I've had times where I'm like, am I talking to a person or not talking to a person when you can't see them? I don't want to get into the
So,
psychological aspects of it, but from a business standpoint, should we approach certain things with skepticism?
I there was a blog article and a webinar that we did that we talked about this default to truth theory. And in our society, we want to be helpful, and we want to trust somebody, whether it's a stranger or somebody we've known for a long time. We default to want to trust them. It is natural in our especially in the US. We just want we're a helpful society, and we're generally an open society, and I do think that we need to be skeptical more than we are or have in the past. You don't want to, we all probably know those people that are skeptical of everything, to almost to a creepy point of view, right?
Mhm.
But I think that it's important for us to have a little more skepticism and slow down. That's speaking of, that article and the webinar that we did is the best advice I can give people is on all of this when we're talking about cybersecurity is just slow down. That's the biggest thing on social engineering is they create a sense of urgency that it has to get done right that second or something bad is going to happen. And so if you ever get contacted by, whether it's an email, a phishing email, or a video or an audio, and they're asking you to do something with a lot of urgency, the chances of somebody dying or somebody being seriously hurt are so minuscule for you to take an action of wiring money or buying Amazon gift cards, right? So just slow down, just take some time to ensure that it's accurate. Contact your IT company, contact your bank, contact your credit card company, whoever, and use the time to ensure that that information is correct. And I'll tell you, if there's a sense of urgency and it's something out of the scope of you would normally do, it's probably not right, and you'll discover that really quick.
And kind of the final thoughts on this. What do you think the future holds, not just for deepfake, but for technology? Do you think that more technology will be developed to detect these types of things as they go forward?
Yeah, I sure hope so. I think that we need to start looking at building in some of these detection. Just like we have anti-spam detection that's AI based now, I think we need detection systems inside our web browsers, inside our video viewers, inside our audio and phone systems that can detect this deep fake type technology and ensure that we're not, that we're communicating with the right people. And like I said, this like from a voice standpoint, our cell phone carriers and wireline, telecommunication carriers have been implementing a lot of things inside their networks to prevent, phone number spoofing. text spoofing and spam detection and things like that. And I think we're going to see an increase in that cybersecurity protection in place. And I think the same thing needs to happen across the board with detection of fake videos and yeah, I think we have to. And these companies are doing that already because the large companies that are providing these type of services realize that this is an issue, and they're integrating more and more AI into the systems to detect and prevent this. Us as small business owners or lower middle market businesses, the best thing we can do is ensure that we have the right cybersecurity systems in place. We're monitoring accounts, doing things that we've talked about a lot, having a enterprise grade EDR antivirus system, manage, detect, and response to ensure that there's no account takeover, and ensure that all the accounts in our system are really belong to who they should be, and implementing multi-factor authentication on passwords and accounts because I think that's where these hackers are going to try to get into is take over an account and then pretend to be somebody that is inside the organization already, and then use that account to convince somebody to do something they wouldn't necessarily do through video, Teams chat, whatever it may be. And so just having those basic securities in place is what small business could do today, and then work with as new technology comes out with these large companies like Google, Meta, Microsoft, of implementing those technologies inside the systems we use every day.
All right. Well, always we encourage people to slow down and pay attention to what they're doing, but great reminders every time. So thanks, Nathan, and thanks everybody for listening or watching, and be sure to subscribe and leave us a comment.